good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the second session of the plenary session number 2. In the first part of this discussion, we listened to the 2 cases from Japan, one of Itabashi, the other one is the Ida city. Then we found some commonalities from different approach, namely how they can create and establish and maintain networking which among the stakeholders to address the issue of the sustainable development, and also how they can invite and encourage local people to be fully involved in the process of identification of the problems as well as the solutions. Now, we will have the quite interesting 3 presentations. One is from Thailand, the other one is from India and the UK. The context is quite diverse. In the morning session, we listened to the 3 presentations, first 3, and then Professor Waltz, as well as Professor Sasamoto, and they gave us a very comprehensive view and then the approach to address the very diverse and complex issue of the sustainable development. Now, we will listen to 3 cases, which is very complete, and then address the issues which is relatively common to all of us, which is the challenge, global challenge regarding the climate change, human rights, the workplace education, and how the community people could be engaged in addressing the global issue of the sustainable development. Well, the first we are very pleased to invite Mr. Perasak Chantachat, who is the educational supervisor of the Pisanluk Provincial Office. And he is very much involved in promoting the non-formal education and informal education of Thailand. And he will speak about how he can encourage the people to come up with the community welfare fund, eventually, which will be supported by the local government and central government. Well, Mr. Chantachat, it's your turn. Please come up to the board. Each presenter will have 20 minutes. Then, as we did before, I'd like to invite you to think, reflect on the presenter's contributions and inputs. Then I invite you to share your ideas and questions and comments. Yes, please, Mr. Chantachat.
Okay. Good evening. Sawasdee krab. I am Pirasak Chantachot, an educational supervisor from Pisanluk Provincial Office of Informal and Informal Education. First of all, I would appreciately thank to the Kominkan-CLC, the Okayama team, and the organizer that give a chance to me to share and learn a good thing about ESD. The following case that I would like to share to you is Community Welfare Funds of Nong Khem Sub-District CLC. Let's start with the characteristic of the region. Nong Khem is a complete forest, creek, swamp, canal, and natural resource. A Kaship group population are engaged in agriculture, such as rice and fish. Retain cultural traditions. Most of the population are Buddhists. Everyone is brotherhood and share generosity and always help each other. This is some picture of the life in Nong Kham. Now we go to the background. The main problems of local people in Nong Kham sub-district is the health and medical care problem. It costs some expense to travel to district hospital. Work absence and income loss. Some families are in big trouble due to long period of work absence for medical treatment. Initiative of the project. The sickness rate of people in Nong Kham was rising high in the year 2007. Many people are in trouble with their expense for medical treatment and cost of traveling. The growth of materialism changed their behavior different from the past. How about the procedure? The CLC teacher take an action in helping the community finding solution by setting up a community platform or forum and using learning process management. The community will discuss their own problem and can find out the solution, resulting in setting up a saving group called Community Welfare Fund of Nong Kham Sub-District. Community Welfare Fund of Nong Kham Sub-District was established on March 25, 2007 by the participation of leaders of 10 villages. The goal is to keep everyone in the sub-district have a welfare system in the year 2016-17. 21 volunteers from 10 villages, about 151 families, were selected to form a committee to run the welfare fund without any remuneration. Each member has to pay 50 baht per month, as they think that such saving makes them have money for medical treatment when they are sick. And anybody who has no money can borrow from this fund to reduce their burden of expense. 1 year later, in 2008, the amount of members is increased to 790 families, or entire sub-district. Ministry of Social Development and Human Security has supported budgets for implementation of this fund activity for 40,000 baht to expand and strengthen the fund. The fund committee has registered this fund as Community Welfare Fund in 2010, which is supervised by Ministry of Social Development and Human Security through Community Organization Development Institute, that is a public organization. By the way, the fund is entered into system of government funds, which receive supporting money 1 baht per day per person and subsidized by Community Organization Development Institute continuously every year has foreseen that member and saving behavior of community strengthened consecutively. Now, the Community Welfare Fund of Non-Camp Sub-District has total capital of 1 million baht. Now we go to the characteristic of the member. The member should domicile or live in non-camp not less than 1 year. Age from birth to 70 years old and register to the welfare fund. Contribution for 180 days or 6 months to use the welfare. Contribution to the fund by day, months, years, continuously and consistently. The income of the welfare fund is come from many ways. From the application of members, from the contributions of member 1 baht per day, 30 baht per month, or 365 baht per year. Or in DC is about 1 baht per day. And from the activities of the fund, or from various groups in the parish, from the government, local authority, private and free enterprise, and from other very accounts. Benefit of the welfare fund. The fund is supported from birth till death. In case of birth, indemnification newborns for 500 baht and 100 baht for a night stay in the hospital up to 5 nights. In case of the old person, contribute 1 baht per day for a period of years. When you are 60 years old, you will get a monthly pension as 300 baht for 15 years contribution, 400 baht for 20 years contribution, 500 baht for 20 years, 75 years of contribution, and so on, till 1,200 baht for 60 years contributions. In case of the illness, the member will get a subvention from the fund for traveling costs and food, 100 baht to local health care up to 3 times a year, and 200 baht to district hospital up to 3 times a year, and 300 baht to provincial hospital up to 3 times a year. In case of admission, is 100 baht per night up to 10 nights a year. The last case, in case of death, the member families will get a subvention from the fund as 2,500 baht for those who are members for up to 6 months, and 5,000 baht for those who are members for up to 1 year. Now we go back to the framework of the learning process in CLC. That is the role of the CLC teacher. It starts from the teacher come to the community to survey a context of the community and collecting the data. We have some computer software called CLC based. CLC is for literacy and community based. It's a to collecting the data. The teacher will set up a local forum to listen to the local people in the community and make a community plan grade, which they know the problems and need assessment of the community. Then the teacher, also the community, will create the community learning plan. The learning activity in the CLC of Thailand has many ways, many methods. It's like basic education, literacy education, continuing education, and integration by those of these. They are like non-formal education activity, promote to literacy, basic education, life skill, short course, vocational training, and informal education. That is learned by self-learning or by teacher or networking. In Thailand, it doesn't like the Kominkan because Thailand, the students who or the people who come to join an activity of the non-formal education will have to receive a certificate, a diploma, after he or she passed the evaluation. So we have many ways to get the certification, as I said before, by learning by himself, by teacher and networking. And we have some transfer or cumulative tool to get the certification too. Activity that setting up activity that the teacher do in the community is setting up a local platform to discuss the community problem and try to find out the solution. Raising fund toward reporting fund for the community. Using learning process management and setting up more activity to reduce the expense of the community. The members set up more group in making dishwashing liquid, soap, camphor, artificial flowers, food preservation, cooking dessert, growing some vegetable and fish rising. These products can be used in family to reduce expenditure, and the rest will be sold to their extra income. Challenges. Encourage community to participate activity. Activity participation of the community people. How to support more activities in education and income generation. Lesson learned. Non-formal education learning process can be done in many types, methods, and important thing is that activities should respond to the community context. The CLC teacher should motivate the community to realize and understand their own problems and can come up with the solution by themselves. The best learning process for the adult is learning by themselves, with NFE teacher acting as facilitators. With this way, the community will have skill in learning other topics continuously. This is one example of community learning and community management in Thailand. Related experience. Community Welfare Fund is one of the outstanding projects of CLCs in Pittsburgh. To enable the community people to be self-reliant through the said fund is deemed to help them have some capital for investment or earning a living for their better quality of life in terms of self-reliance at the same time. Meanwhile, it also leads to the development of community in various vocational skills of the community people, resulting in various kinds of famous products from income generation in the community. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chantachok, for your very concrete presentation regarding how the CLC can contribute to community development. In your case, through the joint kind of establishment of the community funds, which supported the community people themselves to have some kind of the safety net, a kind of a safety net to provide the more chance to have the medical care and health care. I think this is a very concrete example, but I think if Mr. Pri just stated, I'd like to invite the immediate questions or comments, in particular related to his presentation. Of course, I will open the floor for the comprehensive and integrated questions and comments, but if you have any questions particular to presentation, in particular to his presentation, you are most welcome. Yes, Mr. Manzu.
Thank you very much for a very good presentation. I think very good program responding to needs of the community. I was wondering if, do you think necessary to look at the educational needs and problems of the community from an ESD perspective, education for sustainable development. And maybe many of these things are still relevant for sustainable development, but some sort of situation analysis from a sustainable development perspective. And what could be done, what more could be done? Is this something you think is necessary, or is this something you are thinking of?
May I ask Thailand team to explain?
Yes, Mr. Tarkin. Mr. Tarkin.
For ESD topic, since we have local forum, when we have CLC, we have like need assessment. So the topic, every topic come into the forum. So if the local people, they are interested in this topic, we discuss more on how to train them or solve this problem. In fact, this Pittsburgh Provincial Center The outstanding one is the revolving fund, but another provincial center that have many activity for ERC. For example, last year I showed the participant to Ayutthaya province. They have problem of flood. You know, they just have the rafting, grow plant on the rafting that made of bamboo and plastic bottle. That is one of example of ERC. Or use material, many material to serve to protect the environment. Thank you.
That's Mr. Swan.
Thank you. Again, congratulations for the very good presentation. Very simple question. What is about the government ownership of the project, particularly taking the plan for scaling it up within your country?
Again, Ms. Parisha, help me, because she is good in English rather than me.
Sorry, your question, I cannot catch it again, please. Sorry.
Government support is part of the government strategy plan, government ownership of the project.
Sorry, can you use the mic? Can you use the mic? Sorry.
The question is your particular project be already embedded in the government strategy or government framework to scale up your particular good attempt and project throughout Thailand?
In some part, but in fact about ERC is not in Ministry of Education, is under another ministry. But still Ministry of Education has duty of providing education, so we try to use look at the constitution and other plan, national plan. It is in what we call economic plan, that economic and social development plan that's mentioned about this environment, and we follow that and try to provide education and activity to promote activity. For non-formal education office, okay, our target group are the adult people. So most of the activity through we pass through CLC. But the activity that I already mentioned that come from two parts. First, from the need assessment, the need of the people. We have depend to the context of that society or community. Another come from the government themselves, that what topic that we would like to train or to pass to the community. They come to two parts. Is it? Do I answer your question? Is it clear?
I think it's quite interesting question. Once we have come up with some very wonderful and attractive project at the local level, how the government or the local government can support to scale up throughout the national level. Maybe Ichiro, you have any observation in general, in case of Thailand, how the government, Ministry of Education and central government can support the community initiative in a good project, in scaling up such kind of the good, very innovative project. If you have a, Ichiro is the program specialist in Bangkok office, and then which is very much he himself is very much involved in promoting non-formal education community learning center. So if you have any knowledge, just share with us.
The greatness of Thailand government is they promote lots of event activity to exchange ideas. So the case like this, a successful case, can be disseminated broadly through publication, through events. So that's the strength of Thailand. And then in terms of officially scaling up, that's the question I don't know yet. Maybe I can check after coming back. Yes.
If the local people need to apply, like a project, and apply the budget from the local administration office, and then, okay, if the project is interesting enough, so they got the budget to run the project from the government. Yes, from the local government. But from the central government, it means come from the main office that our staff write the project in another way. They have two ways.
Thank you very much. I think it's very clear.
I would like to share some of these projects. I'm from Thailand. And then I think that the project that he mentioned is the project of move the people in the community. I think that is not just a project that somebody should take part, but when the people themselves, they learn about their community, their context, because this project is go through the discussion among the people. When you study the project, you let the people themselves know that what is going on with their community. So when the people in the community know what are they, so that is the learning process. I think that this project, if we consider in terms of education, it is the learning process of the people. So when the people learn, and then they can move. And then if this project is depend on funding, right? If they know how to saving money, and then other things that comes up is the discipline. When people in the community have a learning process plus the discipline in working on any project, so if they have something in themselves, I think that is sustainable for the people. And when you ask about the government support or something like that, I think that if the people themselves, have the discipline, and then they are the people in the community themselves already, so they can move both sides. If the people really want what they want, so the government have to follow what the people. I think that it's the concept of strengthen the people in the community.
I think it's a very wonderful, excellent answer. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chantachot and his team for giving us the cases of Thailand. And thank you very much once again. Very big applause to him.
Thank you.
Then let's move on to India. We have the Mrs. Anjali Agarwal, who's I've known her for a long time, and then I remember before joining UNESCO, I was in Asian Cultural Center of UNESCO, and then we worked very closely to establish the Literacy Resource Center in her place. Mrs. Agarwal is the director of State Resource Center for Adult Education in Madhya Pradesh. And she will present us how the resource center can support the girls' education and the mechanism of the learning together and teaching each other in her education initiative. Yes, please.
Namaste in Hindi and konnichiwa in Japanese. I hope I am right. At the very outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this wonderful conference for giving me an opportunity to be presenting over here our own experience back in India and for interacting with the wonderful delegates that are here. I bring with me hopes and aspirations of adolescent girls from India, from the central part of India, which is a state called Madhya Pradesh, with a population of about 60 million. And in this state, we are working in Indore district, and we are covering the whole of the state of Madhya Pradesh. And let me also clarify that we are an NGO, but we are supporting the government of India for the state of Madhya Pradesh to provide technical resources for adult literacy program which is being run in the country. So I would like to present the context in which these community learning centers were set up for the girls especially in about 60 villages. In fact, we started with 10 remote villages in Indore district, And then we expanded to 60 villages because the results were extremely good. So these remote villages, the target group of adolescent girls that we took was 12 to 20 years. And the school in these villages was only till 5th standard, that is primary school only was there. So many of these girls were illiterates or they were school dropouts. So that was our focus was on educating these girls as well. The majority of the girls belong to, we have scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes. So the majority of these girls were from these backward classes or scheduled tribes. Many of these girls had never been outside their village even. These were remote villages and the status of the girls is not very high in our society. They are not allowed so much of mobility. So they had not seen even the outside of the village. And these community learning centers were set up especially for the adolescent girls because if the boys would also come to the centers, then the parents would not allow the girls to come. So we thought that we should set up separate centers for the girls, and that is how we started these centers. And why we were focusing on adolescents so much? Because 22% of India's population comprises of adolescents. That includes both boys and girls. And adolescence is a very critical period in one's lifespan. And they have special needs, and it has been remained an invisible and ignored group. And also very limited opportunities are available. One of our very famous social activist, Kamala Bhasinji, from her book Our Daughters, I am just quoting, the adolescent girl still remains a young plant that neither gets light nor water. She remains the flower that could have blossomed but didn't. So in this context, we started working with the adolescent girls. I would like to also present the profile of the young girls in India. There are 113 million adolescent girls. The female literacy percentage is about 65%. That means 35% of the females are still illiterate. The gender gap in literacy is still at 16%, and we would very much like to lower it to at least 10%. There is a low status of women. Only 50% of women participate in household decision making. Still, there is prevalence of early marriage and early childbearing in many parts of India, especially in some backward states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and all. And 47% of girls are married before 18 years of age, which is the official legal age of marriage, with substantial proportion begin childbearing in the very first year of their marriage. So early pregnancies take place, early motherhood takes place, and early marriages are taking place. There is an alarming rate of maternal death. A woman dies every 10 minutes due to pregnancy-related complications. Like even the institutional deliveries we are trying to promote, but that is still not very high in some of the villages. Over 50% experience domestic violence. Violence against women is a very big agenda now in India. And sex ratio is for every 1,000 males, we have only 940 females. So we have a skewed sex ratio. In this very backdrop, we started the program. And the program objective is that to empower rural adolescent girls by establishing community learning centers at village level using a peer-based approach and to evolve a sustainable model of empowerment. So when we went to these 10 villages I told you about, we did not have any kind of program model or framework with us. In fact, whatever was evolved, we learned through the community, through the girls, and I would like to share that in my further slides. So the issues that we had before us when we started working, how do we meet the specific needs of adolescents for education? And because all the girls had varied learning needs for education, like some would be illiterate, some would be school dropouts, some had studied up to a certain level and wanted to study further. So how do we meet these needs? Then also expand life choices for adolescents because there are very limited opportunities available at the village level. These are very remote villages, the girls are not able to go out, and no such services are available at the village level. And how do we empower adolescents using a sustainable model? and also builds life skills among adolescents to be change agents and peer educators. How can we build such skills that the girls can become the peer educators and the change agents? So these are the issues that we were facing when we started. Then our approach was that we set up the community learning centers at the village level to empower the girls. The space was provided by the community. They provided an old building to us. The girls painted the building. Even later on, they put in a kitchen garden. They started planting even vegetables and all over there, and they converted it into their own center. Then what we started out as was that if we could find a literate woman from within the community, in whom the community had faith that, okay, we have the trust in this particular person and she can work with our girls as facilitator. So we trained that person as facilitator, and we tried to find out a literate woman from within the village for that, because nobody from outside would commute to such a distance every day, because the center would be running for at least a few hours in a day. So we had to identify a local person. The Community Learning Center had these many activities. There was a Literacy Continuing Education Center. All these are activities of the CLC. A library, reading room, then recreational and cultural activities, vocational skills were being provided, information window in form of, what the government schemes are. That kind of information would be available at the CLC in form of brochures or pamphlets, or calling a person to tell about the government schemes, like that. Also, youth-friendly services, particularly health services and counseling, etc. were provided, and life skills education was provided at the center. So these are the various activities of the CLC. But the challenge that we faced was that we found it very difficult to identify a literate woman from within the community, because most of the women in the community were illiterate. So that was a major challenge, that nobody from outside could come, and from within the community there was nobody who could act as a facilitator. Then also there was a lot of resistance from the parents to send the girls to the community learning center, because they thought that the girls would learn wrong things and they would become spoiled, and because a vocal girl is not the norm in our society. So all these barriers were there within their mind when we started out. Not later on, but when we started out, these barriers were there. Then sustainability of CLC owing to limited resources was again a challenge, and I think that's a challenge all of us face. Sustainability is a very big issue, that we start the CLCs, but how do we sustain them? Again, upscaling has been talked about in so many ways here by all of you, that how do we upscale to reach out to a wider number of adolescents, especially in the disadvantaged situations? Because we try to do the easy things, but how do we reach out to the disadvantaged groups, and how do we upscale the programs, because there are so many millions of adolescents out there whom we have to reach. So what we did was that we formed the girls into girls forums, which we call as Navyukti Mandals. So these girls forums would have comprised of all the girls from within the community, and we also identified 2 to 3 girls from each village who could be the change agents. And we trained them as peer educators in 3 months residential training program, where they would stay together day and night in a place in our own institution which has a campus also. And we would train them into all of these things, into literacy, into life skills, into vocational training, and we trained them as peer educators. It was a very intensive program. There was a sea change when the girls came in and when they were through with the 3 months program. There was a sea change among the girls. Then these peer educator girls we trained, they went back to their communities, and then they started working as facilitators, and they started imparting literacy, life skills and livelihood skills to the other girls as the CLC facilitator, because we were not finding a literate woman, so this was a strategy we adopted by training the girls as peer educators. This ultimately evolved into an empowerment model, which we called as Better Life Options and Opportunities model, which I am just going to present over here. in this model, on one hand, we are providing them providing options to the girls in terms of age-appropriate reproductive and general health services and even awareness, and individual skill building, and creating the power to choose one's future. And on the other hand, because even if we provide them with options, it's not going to turn into an opportunity unless and until we work closely with the community. Unless and until there is an enabling environment which is created for lasting social change. So we did a lot of community mobilization, we did a lot of advocacy within the community and created an enabling environment so that this could turn into an opportunity for the girls. So this was the model that evolved from the program. The key components of the model are literacy, continuing education, health, life skills education, advocacy and networking at various levels, particularly at the community level, and also above. Vocational skills training, basic life skills here means that because the girls, I told you, were not even going outside their village. So making use of the transportation system, going to the post office, going to the women police station. So all of these things, exposure to these kind of things was also given during the program. And also personality development and gender awareness, because gender discrimination is still there, and gender was a cross-cutting theme that we really built into our program. In terms of impact, because when this program was running, and we thought that we must, in the morning, our friend was talking about monitoring and evaluation. We tried to evaluate the program by doing an impact study, by taking experimental group and control group. And the study showed tremendous increase not only in the knowledge level, but also in the behavior pattern and the practices. The program, in fact, had a ripple effect. The girls trained as peer educators impacted lives of thousands of other girls and are still continuing to do so. They established their own CLCs as well. So in terms of sustainability, that is how we see it. And the Navyuti Mandals, the girls' forums, they started with the cultural activities. We were only focusing, as an organization, we were actually focusing more on education and life skills. And we did not know the potential that these girls had for bringing about a sustainable society, in fact. We didn't know it ourselves. But the way it turned out, the girls really took upon themselves so many community development initiatives for sustainable development, which I'm going to share with you shortly. What was the impact on the girls? There was a high level of educational attainment because the girls became literate, or they were mainstreamed into the formal system of education through continuing education. There was a lowering of school dropout rate. The children who were going to school stayed in schools because of this effort, because their sister was coming to our program, and these girls would tell the parents not to, that the siblings should continue with the school. In terms of economic empowerment, there was a 4-time increase in employment among the girls. And there was better role in decision making, improved communication skills and mobility. Many of these girls later on got married. When we did this study, many of the girls had got married. So even the inter-spouse communication, communicating with their husband, their mobility also increased. That earlier they would need somebody to go with them, but now they were quite independent and they could move out on their own and make use of the services. There was a definite improvement in health and nutritional status of girls. In terms of increase in marriage, in these particular villages, the girls were getting married at the age of 13, 14. And the age at marriage increased by 3 to 4 years after the program, the CLCs were run. There was a significant increase in adoption of family planning practices, immunization, antenatal care, institutional delivery. So all these health indicators improved. The community also had a definite impact. It has been reducing gender discrimination in community. The parents started taking pride in the girls' achievements, and the community started owning the CLC because they were involved in the decision making right from the beginning stage. And with a small contribution from community and nominal fee offered by girls, the CLCs could become self-sustaining. Some of the successes and best practices that peer educator girls, they voluntarily carried out activities in their own communities. And in fact, the girls had got married and gone to other villages. So they started CLCs in those villages also. And we didn't have to support them or anything because they were already trained, and they started charging a nominal fee and running the CLCs. They also became preschool teachers, community workers, and became self-employed, and also took up some community development initiatives which I'll share. Like removing liquor shop from the village by approaching the village head as a group, in which even the boys joined in. Then motivating parents to send the children to school, forcing the teacher to come regularly to school, then generating awareness about women's reproductive health. They were doing like street corner play for, there was some problem with the hygiene because toilets are also not there. So they would make the street corner play and stage it and to generate awareness. And making benefit of government schemes available to the people by telling them about it. Even some of these were forest villages, so they prevented deforestation also. And so in terms of, we were not thinking of these things, but ultimately it led to, the education that we were providing led to sustainable society. So it had a ripple effect. From 10 villages, we have now been able to reach out to about 300,000 girls in Madhya Pradesh itself. The training manuals that we develop are being used all over India and with the government agencies because there are certain programs for girls. We have trained the wardens, teachers, and they are also using similar model in their settings. And I told about the peer educator girls who are imparting and running their own CLCs. The lessons learned are that we have to involve community in decision making right from the very beginning in order for them to own the program. To reduce the gender gap, boys' program should also be carried out. The girls said that you should tell these things to my brother, to my husband also. Otherwise, just telling me is not enough. So we have to sensitize. In fact, the Government of India has recently started a program called Saksham for boys. There is a program called Sabla for girls, and a program called Saksham has also started. So we had to work with boys also. Also, there is a need to network and have many more partners to increase the outreach because we have to reach out to millions. And sustainability to us is not only in terms of financial sustainability, but we can also achieve sustainability partly by developing human resources the way we did by developing these peer educated girls. So thank you so much, and I'd like to end with a note that all of us, each one of us has unique strengths and capabilities, and also the people that we work with have strengths and capabilities. So if we all work together, then ultimately we will be able to achieve our goal of sustainable society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjali, for your wonderful presentation on how you could empower the girls and adolescent girls in your place through the peer kind of work involving the other girls to be a teacher and facilitator at your CLC. I open the floor for the specific questions to her presentation. Yes, please.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. It's very amazing to know that the peer educators still remain with the program, despite the fact that they have achieved or gained experience of many skills. I just have 3 questions. How do you select them? And then how do you sustain them in the program, despite possibilities of being lured to some other opportunities outside of the program? And then, like, in the process of training them within the 3-month period, how many completes and how many does not complete the training? Thank you very much.
Can you identify yourself?
My name is Jess Fernandez from the Philippines. Thank you.
Can I answer now? Okay. Regarding selection of the peer educator, I think whenever we work in a community, we can see some of the people, are more enthusiastic about doing things. Especially among girls, there is a lot of energy level. So they have a very high energy level, and we could identify easily, who takes leadership roles and things like that. So that is how we identify the peer educators. And regarding the sustenance of peer educator, I told you that they started charging because they would teach sewing and all to these kind of vocational skills. And the girls were willing to pay for the vocational training. So they started paying some nominal fee, for us 50 rupees or 100 rupees to the peer educator. And that is how it got sustained. And the community had provided the space, so we didn't have to pay anything for the space. So, and in terms of dropout, there was not a single girl who would drop out because it brought about such a vast change in them, in terms of their self-esteem, in terms of their skills and everything. In fact, more girls wanted to come in and we didn't have the capacity to take them. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Shrestha.
This is Shrestha from Nepal. I am very close with India, so I want to learn more. First of all, I would like to thank the presenter. I would like to know about the target groups. We have mentioned only the girls. I know we are using the boys, males, number one. Another is we have to, the main problem of the CLC is sustainability. How to make sustain. That's the main challenges. So this peer teaching is the program is very good, very nice. But as you mentioned, you are involving the community people from the very beginning, from planning to implementation. Actually, we are not involved. They have to plan by themselves. We have to facilitate them only. Then they will feel ownership. Now we are just only. They have to do by themselves. So in order to that, so we have to make them sustain, able to do by themselves. For that purpose, we have to make the CLC legal status. In Nepal, it's very difficult to have legal status, not fully legal status. So that's the main challenge. So whatever in India, I would like to know. Thank you.
In terms of target group, I said that we started these community learning centers, especially for adolescent girls, because we found that in the other learning centers, the girls were not coming. Either the women were coming or the men were coming, but the girls were not coming. This group was being left out. And we thought that we had to have a special approach for them, because if the boys would come to the center, then the parents were not willing to send the girls. So that is why we started particularly for adolescent girls. But in India, we have at every Gram Panchayat, which is the village at the population of 5,000, we have these adult education centers which are open for the whole community. But these centers, as an NGO, this was a special program that we had taken up and set up centers for the girls. And in terms of sustainability, I think that's a very big issue and a very big challenge. And nobody has one answer to this problem of sustainability. We try to sustain them in a small way, in our own, with our own efforts. In fact, the girls only were able to sustain them. We could not have, as an NGO, we could not have sustained them. Because we trained the girls, these peer educator girls, in 3 months residential training. We didn't charge anything. And it was only their commitment that we took, that whatever they have learned from here, they will be imparting to the other girls. So even after marriage, after going to other villages, they started these centers. So sustainability, I don't have one answer for that. I mean, I won't say that they are 100% sustainable, because not each and every girl would, do this. maybe she had some other problems also, the family would not permit. So I won't say 100% girls started, but many of the girls who were in the program, they started. And involvement of community, definitely we are only facilitating from back. Even the community development initiatives, the girls took, we only facilitated from back. Similarly for the community, we only provided a platform to them, and then for them to come together and decide what they want. And in terms of legal status, you said that because we had not registered these sectors, but we have the Saksha Bharat program in India, in which it is very much within the formal government system that these centers are being set up. Thank you.
Last question, yes please.
Thank you. I'm Hari from Indonesia. In Indonesia, CLC functions as both an employment agency and business unit, with the from 4 and 5 people and 100% NGO. How about the role and function of CLC in your country? Thank you. How about the role and function of CLC in your country? In Indonesia, CLC 100% NGO. Self-function about empowerment agency and business unit.
Okay. I think that's a different kind of model. And like as an NGO, because our work is also to evolve some models. And so that's what we were trying to do, evolve a model which we can demonstrate, and so that the government also takes that up. And but like I said, the government has set up its own centers, and they're spread all over India in the villages. And so some of these strategies, but I wouldn't say 100% have been adopted, but some of these strategies have been adopted over there. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Angela, for your wonderful presentation, and a very big hand to her again. Now I'm very delighted to invite Mr. Colin Burns, who is the President of Workers' Education Association of the United Kingdom. He will speak about embedding special purpose education in the work of CLCs. I understand that his presentation will give us another different flavor on the role and the functions of the CLC and also the Civil Society Association in terms of how we can involve ourselves and engage in the world of work. Mr. Burns, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Barnes, and I'm the elected president of the WEA, the Workers' Education Association in England and Scotland. I am presenting this to you as a student, educational policymaker and governor of the largest adult education organisation in the UK. I'm not an academic or teacher, but I do depend on the insights they offer. Any thinking in this piece depends on the work of thinkers and activists in the WEA over many years, as supported by such giants in adult education as Paulo Freire and Raymond Williams. I was slightly worried about linking education for a social purpose to sustainable development, education for sustainable development, until I read this document, which is produced by Akiyama Municipal Kominkan. This significant and rich document outlines points of ESD practices. I am now convinced that education for a social purpose is indivisible from ESD rather. The examples offer a comprehensive set of case studies, and I recommend the document fully I consider that 113 years ago, the WA was founded as an organisation with education for social purpose at its core. It came out of social movements which determined to improve the lot of the deprived working classes. As you can imagine, an organisation this old and so diverse is full of contradictions and tensions. But there has been remarkable consistency in regard for its founding principles. All education has, of course, social impact, and Stralick identifies 3 key impacts for education: career or vocational, personal development, community development. But Roger Fieldhouse, in his history, clearly identifies the 3 founding principles, which not only covers impact outlined, but also securely places the WEA in the education for social purpose model. These are that the association must be attractive and relevant to working class people, have high educational standards, encourage democracy in classroom and within the organisation. Our approach changes, our interpretation becomes, hopefully, more sophisticated, which leads to redefinitions, and the context we operate in shifts constantly. What is the working class today? Is it broad enough to cover all those who are denied opportunity? Who defines the standards we need to reach? What is the classroom today? Surely it must include the virtual classroom, such as shown by international study circles. The social movements relate to a setting on static. By the way, I find the definition of the social movement in the Encyclopedia Britannica a useful starting point, where it says it is a loosely organised but sustained campaign in support of a social goal, typically either the implementation or the prevention of a change in society's structures or values. Although social movements differ in size, they are all essentially collective. That is, they result from the more or less spontaneous coming together of people whose relationships are not defined by rules and procedures, but who merely share a common outlook on society. The social movements change over time, as does our relationship with them. The environmental movement has attracted many movements around issues such as anti-fracking and even climate change denials. Green issues have been growing in importance within our organisation, our campaigning and development, from workshops on climate change to conferences on sustainability. But all these movements have changed, some through the gaining of significant victories, some have had significant defeats. The trade union movement, for instance, has changed beyond recognition. More international in its outlook, smaller in some countries, struggling to deal with immigration. In the UK, dealing with immense cuts to public services. In Zambia, working within 50% plus unemployment rates. These developments change the relationship with education provision. But within all this change, our founding principles remain as aspirations and as the basis for our values. Our current vision is a restatement of these values. It is always open to further thought. It is a better world, equal, democratic and just, through adult education, the WA challenges and inspires individuals, communities and society. Quite an ambition. What we mean by education for a social purpose rests on an individual's relationship with society, and that we recognise that people are social animals. That there is an understanding of what society is like now, how it came to be as it is, and how it might be changed. Equipping students to change society, learn to think responsibly, stand by the results of their thinking in action as well as in argument. Doing this through the subjects we teach now, not inventing a whole new curriculum. Although we will make seem to be large statements about understanding society, we don't require to have a theory about society as a whole. But crucially, the part that the individual student's life is relevant to the community they participate in. Key words in our definitions are understanding, change, and critical. Raymond Williams, for instance, suggests that we need to critique the prevailing status quo. Paulo Freire goes further and says that we in adult education need to take up clear, critical positions with regard to society in order to effect change. All also say that respect for others' opinions, no matter how we may disagree, is an essential part of any effective educational discourse. None of this is new, and we can echo Aristotle's statement and recognise that knowledge and learning is generated socially. If he said that over 2,000 years ago, it must be true, mustn't it? We consider on the basis of this that knowledge is generated socially. Much of our notions of self, of others, and of the world are socially constructed. And of course, we all find out things individually. But we understand better, build our narratives through interaction, discussion, and dialogue. That's why classrooms work. It is why the WA wants to use classrooms to critically evaluate the stories of our lives. But to do this, we seek to encourage students to learn to know, but also, crucially, to learn to do, taking action to improve our communities and our society. But again, this is only possible in small, bite-sized actions in order to empower people in the classroom without overwhelming them and reinforcing possible feelings of inadequacy and lack of confidence in reaching and acting on a considered approach to their subjects, to their communities, to their lives. In order for the whole organisation to focus its effort on social purpose, we have 4 themes. Community empowerment, employability, health and well-being, culture. And we use them to reinforce the approach. Community empowerment, for example, there's a photography course that records the local community and records it on the local centre website. Community arts that build a mural. Healthy eating that provides a community-based day of meals on wheels from their produce. Gardening that represents a rundown public, that represents rather, a rundown public space. Cake decorating that raises environmental protection of bees. Wedding art that produces a voluntary group supporting community weddings. Employability. Human is voluntary sector, NGO business. Education for jobs as well as for learning. From community need to community-led social and employability skills from answering a community need. Rebuilding skills from arts and crafts, practical courses, IT and social media. Social enterprise and co-ops. Health and well-being. Community health matters or mental health matters. Health activists at community level. Health eating on a budget. Good food costs more. Why and how do we respond? Counselling. Why do we individualise our problems? Exercise and food. Growing health inequalities. In terms of culture, we say that, for example, history is our own and all around us, and recording our past is essential. and our lives, soundtracks and soundscapes. Understand the world, our world, through Victorian literature, for example. Making and displaying our own art. The beautiful game. I'm sure you're all well aware. Beautiful game is, of course, football. A key cultural aspect of UK life. How do we do this? The approach really is about starting the discussion, using the hooks in your subject. The hooks are what grabs people, what gets people talking. They can be controversial, it can be challenges. It should lay the basis for understanding and finding out. It lays the basis for argument. Lays the basis for understanding what's happening around us. It can be words, pictures, photos, video, artworks, editing. And then finding things out. Surveys, interviews, statistics, graphs. Students doing research and reporting back their findings. And again, this is picking up on a theme that is evident throughout the day. It's active, not passive learning, and it's letting students talk, not teachers. Activities, not lectures. Links threads together. There's actually something called homework. And tutors find and bring in relevant and stretching information. And it sets and establishes challenging contexts. It's for critically socially aware students who feel confident to take an active role in changing communities. In the process, they change themselves, their families, and their world. They have great learning opportunities to transform. That's learning, I think, for a social purpose. The key lessons is that education for social purpose needs to be a whole organisation approach. We need to have aligned the vision, the strategy and practice. I would add values there as well. It needs to have a theoretical pedagogic background. We need to review, redefine and train. Establish high standards. We need to have a democracy. And we need to link with social movements that are important to your students, to our students. I did this with the help of certain people you can see up there, and they offered me other stuff which, if people are interested, I can offer them if they want to by email. But also, the WA has developed an online education for social purpose training. It's available to anyone free of charge as an online learning resource. And I should have put this on the slide, but I forgot, to be honest. But you can, if you email me, and I'll make sure you'll be able to get my email address. But the email address is on wva-yh.org.uk. If you go there, and onto online learning, onto online social purpose unit, you will find it. But I can send you that information as I can about other case studies from voting, family learning, entrepreneurial skills, health and well-being. It's work in progress. And it's just that I'd like to finish by saying, giving a quote from an Irish poet, W.B. Yeats. And he said, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. Thank you.
Well, thank you indeed, Mr. Colin Bones. And I understand that your association is providing a kind of comprehensive support for the working class people, providing the opportunity for them to learn more, not only the jobs, but also the other field of learning. So this is really the opportunity for them to go through lifelong learning while working. Thank you very much for the presentation. I invite some questions that are related to his particular presentation.
東京から来ました谷と言います。コンセプトに関わる質問で日本語でさせていただきます。ソーシャルパーパスエデュケーション、社会を目的とした教育ということがタイトルで非常に興味深いお話を伺うことができましたが、聞いておりまして、パーパスって別になくてもいいんじゃないかというふうに思ったわけです。つまりソーシャルエデュケーション、あるいはソーシャルペダゴジーという言葉があると思いますが、日本で言えば社会教育、おっしゃることはそれに尽きるのではないのかというふうに考えました。でそういうふうに言い換えてもいいというふうにお考えか、いや、やはりソーシャルエデュケーションとソーシャルパーパスエデュケーションは違う、ここが違う、もしもそうであればここが違うんだということをさっき話したじゃないかと言われると困ってしまうんですが、その要点を示していただきたいと思います。
あれdifference between the social education and the social purpose education, and if you stick to using the social purpose education as a kind of connotation, what's the difference between them, and then why you insist in the word social purpose education?
Thank you. All education is social, all education is collective. But the difference, and it can be used for many different purposes. In the UK now, and I suspect in many other countries, education is being used around developing a skills agenda to develop fodder for the machine, to develop people who can do things that business want them to do. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, because people need to work. But that's just one aspect of education. It is a social aspect. Education for a social purpose is wider than that. And I think one of the speakers this morning identified that in order to be effective in achieving change, not necessarily change that we define, but achieving change that people want, you need to have values in an organisation, you need to have a clear approach to education, which is encouraging people to develop confidence in themselves, to develop critical thinking, to ask those questions, to build an approach. The emphasis that I put on, say, social movements is that social movements, which are informal groupings of people, come together to organisations like the WEA and say, we need to find out about the dangers of fracking, and they would put it like that. Can you help us? And we would then work with them to run a course, a seminar, a day school on fracking. It is then up to them to make choices about their attitude and their approach to that. And they can move on, they may move on from that to oppose fracking. They may move on to not oppose fracking, but they will have carried out their education for a social purpose, to find out more and potentially to act. So it's to learn and to do are the two key characteristics of social purpose education.
Thank you for your answer. Is there any question? No? Yes. First, this gentleman.
Thank you. I'm just curious about your explaining that you stress education for functioning, for the socializing community. What is your essential problem in your society that you stress education to socialize your community? As in my country, Indonesia, the problem is just simply overcome by religion instruction. But why you stress so this thing so important that your association make the program for this? And another thing is, what is your result or what you achieve with this program, with your program about this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I've understood that, what I mean by socialisation of education is that it brings people together to work together to identify what the issues are. And the next aspect of that is through a variety of educational methods, be that survey, be that whatever, is to move on to find, if not solutions, to find an approach. The purpose of education is to create critical thinking, and so that you can have a critical relationship with the world around you. It's so that you can question the decisions and the approaches and the context you work within. I would argue that the only way you could do that is socially, is you do that together. And you do that, and usually in local communities, and is affected in local communities. The impact is, and it is very small, can be very small. It can be a greater understanding of literature. It can be it can feed into a much more political process. It can be a cultural process. It is not up to us to define what the finishing points are. It is up to us to create a critical thinking student body that is comfortable with itself and with its approach. I don't know if that answers your question, but the social aspect is very important in that. I've obviously offended the chair.
Okay. すぐお戻りになると思いますので、少々お待ちください。
I could do a song and dance act, but you wouldn't like it.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kominkan-CLC from Japan. I have a question. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. You emphasized the link with the social movement and education. I have a question that do you think education also exists in the social movement process itself? Or do you think education and social movement are different issues? And I just ultimately want to know, how do you understand education in relation with the social movement? Thank you.
It's not a static thing. Sometimes education is very much a part of the social movement. Sometimes, as in certain parts of the environmental debate, for instance, is that people come to the WEA in the northeast of the UK and form their own section. Other places, like in the trade union movement, they run their own education, whereas we used to run it for them some years ago. So things aren't static. Social movements will, once they become established, and in fact, I would argue, become less of a movement and more of an organisation, want to establish their own educational background, their educational approach, because it's purer. I don't think it matters really. I think that's part of contradictions and tensions. Those are the things that changes. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the relationship with social movements.
I had a question from Alpha 3, and then I go to Kawai.
Mr. Barnes, if you were to give a weight on those so many aspects in worker education, what aspect do you think would be very highly relevant to the education for sustainable development among workers? Second, how much the empowerment of workers can prevent the abuse of the owners of the private entities which is not friendly to the sustainable development? Thank you.
I think I can answer the first part of that, but not the second. The first part is that the key aspect of education for workers is the critical thinking. I think that's the key aspect of any education. That's certainly true within workers' education. Critical thinking, to know what their position is in society, to know what they can do, what they can't do, what they need to do, what they need to know, what they need to get together. The second part I can't really answer, because I think that depends on successful completion of the first part. So it's a difficult, it's a very good question, and I wish I was knowledgeable enough to answer it.
Question from Mr. Kalbawai from Afghanistan.
Sorry, I'm Kalbawai from Afghanistan. Could you explain more about the outcome that you got in your program in the past? Some concrete outcomes?
The outcomes depend on, I mentioned that we've broken down to 4 things, but are working to 4 things. Because that's one way of helping us to focus the work. The outcome comes within those things, and the outcomes come usually locally. So if, for instance, on one of those things like health, there was an exercise class, which obviously I only know about in theory, but it's, if a group of people got together to exercise for better health, there would then be specific outcomes locally. It would the answer to your question is it depends on where it is, what it's doing, why it's doing it, and who's doing it. And all of those questions come back to the complexity that we spoke about this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Burns, for your wonderful presentation. And big hands to him again. Well, we have the 3 presentations, and we have still the 15 minutes to go. So what I'm going to ask you is to please reflect on what are the commonality from different 3 presentations. From Thailand, he's talking about the establishment of the trust and community funds to address the issue of the health and medical care. And which is also something how the community learning center can contribute to the ESD aspect by motivating the people to join the community learning center. I understand that one of the functions of the community learning center is to provide the venue and opportunity for the learners to think themselves. And then, to my understanding, in the case of Thailand, they began with the very concrete, attractive subject, which is community fund to address the healthcare. Then gradually they invited the people, and then gradually expand their topics, which is also related to the education for sustainable development. And then we have the quite different approach and then the strategy, how the Indian Resource Center, Indo Resource Center, could address the real needs of the adolescent girls who are the illiterate people. And as you may know, India is home to the 34% of total illiterate population in the world. Although India is very much developing and emerging right now, there's the BRICS countries, and then the economic growth rate is relatively high, around 6% compared with the previous years, which is a little bit down. But still, they are developing in a quite rapid speed. But nonetheless, as Mr. Manzo pointed out, how we can address the vulnerable people in rural areas, that is another aspect. And then the function of CLC is to, again, provide a very opportunity for the people to empower themselves. The last presentation is from Mr. Burns. It is a very good conceptual, but the question is how this association, the WEA, could support the workers to relate their individual knowledge and learning to the societies. The relation between to my understanding, his association, WEA, is providing the opportunity for, again, the workers to think themselves and engage themselves in much broader social activities. And then in that sense, it's very much to do with the lifelong learning, and then this kind of activity could contribute in a wide way to the development and promotion of sustainable development. Well, these are the kind of the wrap up of these three presentations, but again, I encourage you to come up with what did you find as a commonality from the different perspective, different approach in terms of the roles and the contribution of Community Learning Center or the the civil society organization to promote the ESD. I'll give you 2 minutes and then come back to you. Please discuss with your friends and neighbors.